Welcome back to San Diego Comic-Con. It is Matt and it is Eric, and it is also Brian Shea from Game Informer.
Yep.
How are you?
Hanging in there, man.
Enjoy. I know you look rough.
Near the end of the show.
Yeah.
One more day.
You've had look. Matt and I look beat up because we've been in the sun a lot with no protection and getting burned and exhausted, whatever. Brian lives sort of the rock and roll lifestyle where he's up at all hours. He's drinking whiskey. He's talking. There's cigars being had. He's talking to very important people in the industry. And then he just comes in and goes, man, I am beat. It's like, yeah, of course you are. You're living in a fantastic life. But we're here on San Diego enjoying Comic-Con.
Yes.
The mecca of all cons. And there's just so much going on, so much to get into, and we still have more guests that we have to get through here on the program. But I want to draw everybody's attention over to one of the other features that we didn't get a chance to talk about, and that's Adult Swim on the Green.
Right.
Which they have this huge lawn presence on the other side of Comic-Con, where they started it last year. It's a huge amusement park. And they have those hokey carnival games.
Yeah, you play carnival games for tickets.
Right, and then you use those tickets and you bring them over to their prize
and if
tent.
you're lucky, you get a Mr. Poopy Butthole pillow.
Right.
How have I not gone to this yet?
Oh, you're missing out. You haven't seen all those people with their huge body pillows.
Yeah, huge Mr. Poopy Butthole body pillows.
Right.
Well, how am I going to get that home?
They don't...
Well, I brought an empty suitcase. It's already full.
Yeah, same with us.
Yeah, same with us.
That's what I told Matt last night. Matt goes, you know what? We're tired. We get back to the room. Matt goes, you know what? I'm going to do a preliminary packing situation here and just see how it's going to look. Ugh. And I said, you know what? That's smart. I'll do the same thing. And I went to do it. And then I looked at it and I said, you know, Matt, I'm really debating throwing out my clothes. Because it's just at the point where I was like,
those you could ship back. They're cheap. They're light.
It's going to be over the $50, the 50-pound limit that you have to pay extra for on the airline. So we're trying to cut corners where we can.
I've already started spilling like the less important stuff over into like my checked bag. Like so I have my big checked bag, and it's starting to spill over into that because the carry-on one is the one that's going to have all like the really important stuff, like my Ninja Turtles figures that I got, and like a hat that I bought that I really wanted. So yeah, the check. I'm starting to like make a list. Like, all right, like this is more important than this. This is more important than this, and trying to like play like a little like Hunger Games, just like see who stays and
who wins,
who runs, like who plays Russian roulette with checked baggage.
Okay, toys, fight for my affection.
I don't need these sneakers. I've got at least 3 more pairs at home.
Yeah, so the Adult Swim on the Green, you go there, you collect your prizes. They have interesting features where they're showing you highlights of a lot of Adult Swim programming. There's some rides that you can go on, and then there's this big tent. It's a dome almost, but it's meatwad, right? So they're like, there's this really trippy Aquatine presentation that you got to check out.
I like where this is going.
Okay, yeah, so, us too, we're like, okay, this sounds like a good idea, we'll do that. Now, we're waiting online, but we're at the very front because we had special credentials. They got us right in because they want us to see everything that they're doing. And we're standing there, and there's a very nice girl whose job is to let people at the front of the line go into the dome, to the attraction, if you will. And we're waiting for the previous run time to be done so that we can all get in there. And she's just, talking with us, having a good time. And she asked us if we're enjoying the con, and we're like, yeah, this is great, She said, oh, that's so good that you guys are actually happy to be here. And Matt's like, why would we not be happy to be here? And the lady said, well, I just worked E3, which you were at, Brian.
Yep.
And she said, and I worked for Xbox Live. And she was over there, and everybody who came around, I said, oh, you having a good time at E3? And she said, everyone was fucking miserable. It's like, well, what can I do? It's work. That was the big thing she said everybody complained about. It's like, well, I have to be here for work.
Like, that's such like a weird thing for me. Like, I mean, I've been in the industry for, what year is it, 2016? So I've been in the industry for like 6 or 7 years now.
Right.
And it's like, I am still like crazy about going to these events. Like, I go to E3 and I'm still like the little kid watching it on the internet. Like,
right.
I'm like, oh yeah, they announced that. That's awesome. I can't wait to check that out on the show floor.
I have a feeling that she was probably dealing more with not the Game Informers of the world, but the go cover this event You know, like
you mean like a newspaper or something?
A newspaper or maybe a broadcast network that doesn't normally deal with it, but feels like they need to cover it because of the cultural impact that games
that could
have
be.
now.
I mean, some people aren't into the industry. Like, I mean, we saw Colin Cowherd on ESPN say that if he ever had to cover video games, he'd quit on the spot.
Right.
And then, lo and behold, ESPN started covering video games,
Yep,
and he's
so there it is.
not there anymore, is he?
Yeah, what a
oof.
Yeah. So that was interesting, and she's like, no, but I'm glad you guys are having a good time. But of course we're having a good time. And this is when we started to realize that the sun is such a bitch here in San Diego because it's noon. It's directly above us. We're turning red. We're sweating. We're like, she's like, once you get into the dome there, it's air conditioned. You sit in there for about 5 minutes, watch this presentation, and you cool off, have a good time. Okay, we get in. Now we get in, and it's kind of weird. It's like the inside workings of Meatwad. You're seeing, like, the other side of his eyeballs. You see, like, stuff pulsing from blood passing through it.
Bizarre.
And then all of a sudden,
I need to go see this.
It starts, and you're watching it, and you're just in the center of a lake, and you're looking out at the coastline, and you see mountains in the back, and you see beautiful. The sky is lit up like you see stars and constellations and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were somewhere that wasn't near a city, like if you were in Minneapolis or in Montana or somewhere in the middle of nowhere, you just look up, you could see everything.
And remember,
right?
it's a giant dome, so it's almost like a planetarium.
Right, exactly. Thank you. I was trying to think of what it reminded me of.
Planetarium.
Yes, I have that disease that I can't pronounce the T's in planetarium. So you're watching this, then it just goes through. I don't want to say like on acid because that's just such a hack thing today, but it was like you were tripping out and you're watching the screen. And they said for those, they warned you, and they said for those who get motion sickness, please hold on to the railing prior to the start of the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just leaning
But you're
back
looking up, right?
Yeah, you're looking straight up, and you're watching everything go on here. And it looked like they had some new technology to show you how cool they could bend and shapeshift stuff. And they worked Adult Swim and Aqua Teen Hunger Force into it.
That's awesome.
So you're watching, like, buildings are bending. It's almost like Inception, but their buildings are bending and spinning around, and you're flying through things, and then you see, oh, there's Space Ghost on the side of a building, and then the other trippy shit's going on for a while, and then you see, and this was a nice throwback. Remember, 10, 11 years ago in Boston when they put up the magnetic
yeah. People thought it was like a bomb, right?
And they thought it was a bomb scare and everything. So they had references to that on the sides of buildings when you could focus on it because everything was going around so fast. And then all of a sudden it goes right back into the middle of the lake. And then it's
just gone?
It calms down for a second. And then the lights go off, and they go, "Thank you for enjoying the Meatwad experience or whatever it was. Hope you enjoy the rest of your con."
Listen, I love Adult Swim. I do. But I've never understood Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Really?
No.
I love that show. It's just so weird.
I've just never got into.
You know what this man needs? A foreigner belt. That's exactly what you need.
A what?
Exactly.
It is just a supremely strange show that I just love following the strangeness of it. And like Carl is such a great character.
Yeah.
Like just an angry middle-aged guy.
I know some people who like fawn over that show. And I don't get it. I love Adult Swim. I love plenty of the other programs on there. That's just not my cup of tea.
I mean, it's been several years since I've seen the show, to be fair. But I remember just like, I want to buy all the DVDs of the show. And I never did because I was a poor college kid at the time. Right. But, it was one of the shows that I kind of wanted to like watch all the way from start to finish.
There was an episode. They have two sets of aliens. They have the Moonanites,
right,
and they have the Plutonians, right?
It's so far.
Okay. Plutonians are just these weird. They look like you took scissors and just cut something out of paper.
Okay.
At all these weird angles, right? They got Stargate technology. So they set up the Stargate on their ship, and the one in the crawl space of the house for Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Oh my God! Look at that right there.
What am I looking at?
All right, never mind. You're missing it. It's the one holding the.
The Chewbacca.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, so they set up a Stargate in the crawl space under the house, and they used this ancient technology just to steal cable.
Right.
And he goes, who the hell set up a Stargate? And they keep correcting, no, it's called the Fargate. And he goes like, and they're like, shut up, we don't want to get sued. So they're just ripping off the Stargate movie to steal cable. And that's not funny?
I guess. I don't know. I'm just...
I'll lend you the DVDs. And you can
give me
catch
Rick
up.
and Morty any day.
Okay, well, let's go to Rick and Morty.
Let's.
Right outside of the Meatwad tent, and if
Right.
you ignored the really obnoxious MC that was hosting the event, he was the equivalent of, you know when DJs have a hype man? So if DJs are spinning electronic dance music, they have a guy behind the screen who's yelling into the mic, just random nonsense. Almost like hip-hop DJs where they keep fading in and out of the song to just yell stuff, right? So that's what this guy's doing, and it's really annoying. And Matt, at one point, we're waiting to get into the virtual Rickality tents, and Matt just goes, all right, you know what, you may have to watch this stuff. I may have to do something about this. Matt was really getting mad.
It was hot. He was annoying.
So
At one point,
I'm
he
noticing a
screamed out
theme
that
here.
There was a Pikachu that had appeared randomly by one of the carnival games.
that
and
is
caused
pertinent
chaos.
information.
Of course it is.
I
think he was lying, though. I think he was just fucking with people.
All right, well, then that's just
That's
mean.
what I'm screaming.
Yeah,
That's
so-
when people turn on him.
That's right.
And everyone starts beating him to death with Mr. Poopy Butthole.
And then he was also telling people the wrong thing. He's like, this attraction is open now. And it so wasn't open now. But anyway.
So we get into...
Just a troll.
now here's something
He
interesting.
was a troll. He was trolling us all.
We were waiting to get into virtual Rickality because we're going to talk to everybody from Rick and Morty.
Right.
So we wanted to, see what it was and be up on it. And they were down for a while because of the sun. They said the sun was too intense on the tents that it was messing up this lighting that they have that makes a grid of your walking space.
So Rick and Morty runs on the HTV VIVE.
HTC VIVE, yeah.
HTC VIVE, sorry.
So
it requires those lights
two
in the
motion
corner, right,
sensors.
in the corner of the room, and you're supposed to play it indoors.
Yeah.
Well, they have it inside of a partially translucent tent. So it was so bright from the sun, because the sun was directly overhead, no cloud cover, that the sensors weren't working right.
I could see that. I mean, it can't be like it has to be a somewhat controlled environment.
Right. So they had to go inside the tent and run black cloth underneath it to try to get it dark enough.
Did it work though?
Once they got it working, it was amazing.
Right.
So tell me about it. I haven't done this one yet.
All right, so we go in. Matt's the first to go, and they put on the goggles, and then you have these two. I don't know what to call them. What are they called?
The wands.
The wands. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have a wand for each hand, and they position him in the center of the tent.
Sure.
And you get to see on the monitor there, you can see what he's experiencing and what he does in the story. So it starts off with, you see this futuristic landscape, and then it goes away and you see a blue grid. It almost looks like the holodeck on Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah.
And they said you walk up to the grid there, you're there. This is the area that you can work within. It's like 8 feet by 8 feet.
Right.
And so you see a pair of hands, he's touching everything, whatever. Jumps right into the game. And a demo game, if you will, right? So the premise of it, do you want to tell it or you want me to tell it?
Yeah, I can tell it. So the premise of the game is Rick has created a virtual Morty, pretty much, right?
A clone Morty.
A clone Morty.
Okay.
And, and
You're that clone Morty.
And he's trying to get you to go through a portal with him to go
boy.
someplace. But you're in the garage. If you watch Rick and Morty, Rick's lab is part of it is in the garage or whatever.
Sure.
Right.
So you're in the garage surrounded by all of Rick's stuff.
And they have to run off somewhere.
Right, so they run off somewhere, and it kind of just leaves you in charge. But he's kind of teaching you the game and walking you through some of the stuff you can do. At one point in time, he just randomly asks you to do his laundry.
Yeah.
For no reason. He's like, you got to do my laundry, Morty.
So you're learning how to pick up all his clothes and put it into the washing machine and turn it on.
A lot of these developers are so good at making you understand how things are without it feeling like a tutorial, how things work.
Yeah, because he's insulting you, and he goes, "Oh, we may have to kill this one, Morty." What are you talking about, Rick?
Yeah,
he doesn't know how to turn the washing machine on.
If you take too long, it's like, this is another one. This one doesn't get it.
Yeah, and if you take too long, they're shitting on you, and then all of a sudden he just pulls a gun out from his jacket and points it right at you. He's like, he's not picking this up, Morty. No, give him a chance, Rick. And then you do it, and then he puts the gun away. So you're threatened he's getting annoyed, and then he threatens to kill you at every turn.
Yeah.
So isn't that like, just before we go any further, isn't that awesome? Like I talk about like how like the Bat Cave is so cool to just descend into, like a show or a property that you really love, and then suddenly you're just right in the middle of it, and you're looking around, you're like, holy crap, I'm inside of a scene of this show, and like there's that thing and there's that thing.
Well, so this is just a demo for the game that's coming out, right? They don't have a release date for it yet, but they purposely made the content of the demo so rich that it would be virtually impossible to have the same exact experience. Yeah, the same experience of the people before and after you. Like, our two experiences were nothing alike.
Right.
I
So
did things he did not do, and vice versa.
And I did things that they didn't know that you could do. And they're the ones that set up the game, and we're doing this stuff. So Matt went through, what did they say your experience was? When you went through, you were figuring things out, how things work. Oh, you was playing with the Meeseeks box.
So I found the Meeseeks box in Rick's lab, and, I unlocked it, and, Rick is like, well, I couldn't really create a Meeseeks because it's only a virtual clone you. He's like, so we're going to call this a U-Seeks. But the purpose of the U-Seeks is the U-Seeks can do stuff outside of the grid that you can do stuff. So you can kind of like push it outside the grid and control it to do things outside of the playable environment.
Nice.
Which was really cool. Like, that's a way they figured out a way to get you beyond the limitations of.
Right.
That's the biggest challenge. Like, usually we see teleportation, like, like going through the portal, like you're suddenly in a different environment, so it feels fresh, a fresh spot of like 8x8.
Right.
But like, yeah, that's going to be the big thing for a lot of VR developers, is figuring out how you can move beyond like just that one little playable space.
Right. So Matt's being adventurous and discovering and having fun. Want to explain what my experience was like?
Yeah, Eric immediately just starts looking around the room for shit to destroy.
Oh yeah, that's the way to do
or
VR.
Where.
Yeah,
He just picks
I'm
up
picking
like
up
a
wine
hammer.
bottles and I'm throwing them around the garage. There was a flask, and I was like, I wonder if I could drink it. And as I turned it over, alcohol's coming out, and I'm drinking the flask.
He puts on a crown at one point.
Yeah, there was a mace, so I start smashing things on the shelves. They had an alien mask that I figured out I could wear, and my vision turns red, and now I'm talking like an alien. I take it off, and then there was a crown. I put the crown on my head, and I went around and finished everything else that I was supposed to do. And what was the guy saying? What did he like about my ending?
Well, so Eric, eventually, he's got on this alien mask and he's doing all these like terrible things, but then he ends it wearing the crown, like the fucking king of Monte Carlo. And you could see it, like, so from our perspective, you could see like just the crown, and he's standing there in front of Rick with this crown on his head. It's just silly fun, but it was really fun
Matt's
to do.
trying to discover, full of wonder, and I'm like, how do I break everything in here?
Yeah, exactly.
So that you'd probably like a game called Job Simulator that's on the Vive. Like, it's the same thing where like you're in an office. It's supposed to be like a futuristic, like almost like a Valve-esque, Portal-esque type experience where it's like, all right, this is what AI in the future thinks that like we would want to be in, like for like jobs. So like there's one where you're in the office and the first thing you want to do is like, oh, there's a coffee mug. I'm just gonna fling that over to another cubicle, and like another robot pops up like, hey, what did you do that for? And like then you can like pour coffee on your computer. You can like
See, that's exactly what I do. I learned how to fuck shit up. And because then usually those are the Easter eggs in a lot of games. When you start smashing shit and breaking stuff, like even in Portal, I was lifting stuff up just to throw it and break it against the wall, just because they do these little, I'll say minute details that really give you a whole nother level of appreciation for the work and the effort that they put in. Because sometimes you'll be in an office in a game and like you can't really touch anything on the desk. You can't move the chairs, you can't whatever. And then you have games like Portal, like any kind of virtual reality thing, where you could throw something and the desks go flying and everything, and you're just ruining the room, and that's a lot of fun to do.
We were talking to, and I apologize, I can't remember his name, but the CEO of the guy developing the game, and apparently Justin Roiland, who created Rick and Morty, is a huge VR fan.
Right.
And Job Simulator is one of the things that Justin had played, and I guess played a little bit of, inspiration into what he was doing. But one of the things I had, and I was talking to the CEO about it, I asked him what he thought was the biggest stepping stone into getting people to adopt it. And he said getting people to just try it out. Because you don't really realize how cool it is. It sounds cool, but until you actually experience it, you can't appreciate it.
That's the big hurdle. Every developer for VR recognizes. Like that's why we're seeing PlayStation VR and Oculus and Vive even to an extent all in retail stores. They're trying to get as many people on as possible to like understand like what it is, because you can talk about how cool it is. You can show like video demos of it. But until you're actually in it, like it's a completely different animal. Like it's like you might as well be talking a foreign language. Like, oh, cool, I see that on my screen, great. But like once you're like inside of a scene, like that's when you really like that's what they have to do is they have to figure out ways to get more people to understand that.
And the hardest thing for me personally was I kept on trying to treat it like a game. So I kept on trying to push buttons to trigger effects, and Rick is like, just push it with your hand.
Yeah.
You just reach out and you push it. Like you just have to go through the motions. And again, I was talking to them, and they were like people who are not gamers walk in there and own the game. They just walk in and they just naturally do the stuff they need to do. Gamers come in here and they're like, how do I crouch? And they're like,
you crouch.
Yep. Yeah. So, but it's an awesome experience.
Yeah, I wanted to treat it more like reality, and I just started breaking
just ruin everything.
I'm like, can I set something on fire? Can I electrocute myself? Pretty much, I always try to find the funniest and the best ways to kill the character, and then work backwards from there. So I know, okay, I can't do these things. Now I know my perimeter of what I can do. But that's the fun of experimenting with it. And it actually, like you said, it's just getting people to try it. I want to get it just for the Rick and Morty game.
Absolutely.
I will spend that money just to have it done. So let's go over to the press line and talk to everybody involved with Rick and Morty. Justin Roiland, the voice cast, everybody there, and talk about Funko, the virtual reality, all this cool stuff with everybody from Rick and Morty. We're on the floor here for Rick and Morty at San Diego Comic-Con, and we're going to start things off with Spencer Grammer. I almost called you Summer.
That's okay. It starts with an S. I like your shirt. That's
Thank you.
rad. Did you make that?
No, I did not.
Did you buy this one?
I did buy this one.
A bootleg one or like a real franchised one?
No, this is actually...
Because I don't have that shirt, and that one's rad.
They have those T-shirt businesses.
Seeks in the bag.
What she's looking at is Rick and Morty doing the original poster art for Star Wars.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It looks amazing.
It's one of those sites like T-Fury or Shirt Punch or something like that you buy when the artist interpretations of pop culture.
It's great. There.
I will gladly give this to you.
You take it off right now?
Yeah, I would. You don't want to see that, but I would give this to you.
It's okay. I'm into everything.
So you play Summer on the show. By the way, you were on Mr. Robinson for a little bit.
Mr. Robinson, yeah, I know. I just booked. I'm recurring on the pilot of First Wives Club right now, so we'll see if that gets picked up, which is cool.
It's so weird, at least with the world of voiceover work, because you get so trained to the animation or something when you're hearing the voice, and then you hear the voice clicks and you look and you make the visual connection when you hadn't for the first time. When you came on screen, I was like, it was driving me nuts that I knew your voice, and then it clicked. I'm like, she's on Rick and Morty.
Yeah, that's really funny. I actually have friends who had put Adult Swim on and been in a hotel room and then heard my voice and were really freaked out about, they thought I was in the room or that they butt dialed me. They couldn't quite figure out what was going on. They were like, oh gosh, you're on this amazing animated series. So.
Let's talk about Rick and Morty, your character Summer. In the first season, she typical teenage angst and hating her parents, but she didn't really, and they didn't portray it where she didn't really know why she was angry at everything. Yeah. And then as the first season unfolded, and especially the second season where the family's more aware of what Rick and Morty are actually doing, now she started, I guess she grew up fast, and now she wants to be pretty much like G.I. Jane. She wants to be an ass kicker.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see some more of that in season 3. I can't really disclose anything.
Sure you can. Go ahead.
I'm not allowed to say. They were like, you can't say anything. I'm like, I can't even say the episode, and they're like, no. But it does progress more, and yeah, I think that I kind of am sort of a very strong female in my own personal life, and that definitely rubbed off in my portrayal of Summer, and it made more sense because it's sort of Morty gets his ass kicked all the time, and Summer stands up for herself a lot, and so having that opposite creates a really good tension between all of the characters.
It shows, I mean, we're talking about an animated series, but it shows great growth in the character where she's your typical teenage, I want to go to the mall, hang out with my friends, I don't like my family, don't want to be around it too. Growing up real quick, and she goes, I want to defend the universe. Now, she became an adult really fast.
Yeah, and I think she's sort of vying for, Rick's becoming Rick's protege in a way.
When she didn't care to begin with.
She didn't, but then we realized that she's really smart, like her mother as well, and Rick. So therefore, it just makes sense in the line of succession. Is that right? Succession.
She didn't want the love of what she thought was her crazy drunk grandfather, and now she sees that he's this brilliant, internationally wanted criminal. Sorry, not even intergalactically wanted criminal.
Right. So it's like the intergalactic mafia. She wants to be a part of like the family, the universal family.
Before you go, since you can't talk too much about season 3, we don't even know. We know it's coming. Everyone's happy. We don't know a date for it yet.
No, neither do I.
The ending of season 2. Did you cry at it when you saw it?
Oh, yes. I mean, yeah. It's definitely how do we get out from there? I didn't cry probably. When Rick. Are you?
There's 2 moments. There was 2 moments. One was when Rick lost his girlfriend, if we'll call it, and he got drunk in the garage, tried to kill himself, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And that song was playing by Chaos. And then the end when
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
I've been there. I know what it's like to be wanted. And then at the end of the season 2, where he saves his family, does something very unselfish, and then gives himself up.
Into the intergalactic. Yeah. I mean.
You know what the Nine Inch Nails song?
I think it was actually. Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely shows a character arc for him, that he was this completely selfish guy, and how your family, though it might be dysfunctional, becomes your saving grace as well.
Spencer, thank you so much for your time. We're looking forward to whenever it comes out for summer season. Are you in virtual reality? Virtual Rickality?
Not yet.
Okay.
I will be. Not the one on the green.
Yeah.
It's not there yet, but it will be. Not yet.
Okay.
But eventually, there will be summer virtual reality.
This is like explaining time travel.
It is. Yeah. Eventually, I'll be in there somewhere. They'll find me. You'll find me somewhere.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you.
Thank you. Great to meet you too. Thanks.
Thanks. Continuing on the press line for Rick and Morty here at San Diego Comic-Con. Once again, we have the opportunity to talk to Chris Parnell. Last time we talked to you was at New York Comic-Con for Rick and Morty. Oh, wow. And also Archer. You were doing double duty then.
Yeah, I'm doing double duty again this weekend. Yeah.
And with the announcements of Archer getting a few more seasons, and now we know season 3 of Rick and Morty is coming out, and Rick and Morty is not stopping by any means, you're kind of busy.
Well, yes and no. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about voiceover, is it doesn't take a lot of time to do. So, even when we're in full production with, say, Archer, I'm recording like once every other week. And with Rick and Morty, it's even more spread out, So, I love doing it. I'm happy to do it. But I would be lying if I said it took up a lot of time. It takes up a lot of time for the writers and the animators, but not for the actors.
Before we get into Rick and Morty stuff, you're doing all this voice work, and it's for some people it's a dream career. Do you ever have any want or need to go back in front of the camera again?
I do, and I get to with guest star roles and things. There's always something coming up, and then I'm going to do a series for Amazon much later in the year, like in November or so, called Heiston. That's on camera. So I've been looking forward to that for a long time, but the directors have been shooting a movie this last summer called The Battle of the Sexes, and so they're in post on that, and I'm just looking forward to getting started on Heiston.
Well, let's get into Jerry and Rick and Morty here. We talked with Sarah and with Spencer about over the last 2 seasons, we've seen from where the characters were to their growth and how their lives and their mindsets have changed over the 2 seasons, except for Jerry. Jerry's the only one who's not self-aware and has really had no personal growth.
Not so much. I mean, maybe he's become slightly more accepting of Rick and just that the insanity that Rick brings to their family. But yeah, beyond that, not a lot of growth. No.
And it's weird too, where Jerry started off with not really liking Rick and was trying to get everybody else in the family on board. Like, Rick's a problem because he's a drunk and he's a recluse, and we didn't know really what Rick was at that point. To Jerry sort of has become the villain in the show unintentionally. Like, everyone just turned and said, I can't stand Jerry. Beth wanted to leave. Summer doesn't idolize him anymore. Morty obviously gravitated to Rick. Nobody wants to be involved with Jerry whatsoever.
No, I mean, Jerry's kind of pathetic, and you see why people don't want to hang around with Jerry particularly, and why the Jerry daycare is such a great place for Jerry's to be, because they all relate to each other.
And that was the one moment you think it was going to click in Jerry's head, like every other character. Like he stowed away in the spaceship. He's now seeing what Rick and Morty really do, and then finds out there's more of him. There's a Jerry daycare center, and rather than be upset and try to learn from experience or change, he's like, wow, this is amazing, and then he forgot about it the next episode.
It's true. He's a little oblivious,
Yeah, and when his family doesn't want to watch the TV show he wants to watch or hang out with him, he runs and cries and dives into the pillow of the couch or upstairs his bed.
He's used to being stomped on in all kinds of ways.
Is it safe to say, or at least we hope in season 3, there's still no personal growth in Jerry?
Well, there's some changes for Jerry. I don't know if it will be growth that we see, but there are definitely some big changes, and they've hinted that...
Are they willing changes? Or do they cut off his arm and put on a cyborg arm?
No comment. No comment on that. But they've hinted that there's going to be some common ground between Jerry and Rick found. So I don't know what that means. I haven't seen that script yet, but that's what Justin and Dan have said. So
maybe Jerry becomes a drunk.
Maybe. That's entirely possible. Yeah.
Chris, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of San Diego Comic-Con. And one last thing. Are you part of the future of virtual Rickality?
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Okay.
Yes. So
right, we'll work on it. We'll talk to Justin later and try to get you in.
Okay, cool.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Continuing on the press line for Rick and Morty, and finally the moment has come where we talk to our old friend Justin Roiland.
Hey, how are you?
Great. The last time we got a chance to talk to you, you called in when we had Chaos performing on the show.
Yes, yeah. I love those girls. They're amazing.
Right. And that's the choice to use that song for the potential suicide scene for Rick told more than any dialogue could have by just using that song.
Yeah. It's funny. I've been a fan of them since they were little girls. Like they're from Seattle. They started when they were 8 and 10. They were discovered by I think Jason McGurr is his name, from Death Cab for Cutie, the drummer, Death Cab for Cutie. Just in a music store he was working in, and I think Chloe was just on the drums, and he was like, you should buy her a set of drums, and and then Aussie was like, they were like, what can she do? Well, she fucks around on the piano, and next thing you know, they're writing very sophisticated. Their first album I think they wrote that when they were 10 and 12. That album is so sophisticated. There's a couple songs, maybe 3 songs that are very much their age, but the rest of it is all this is fucking a 10 and 12, or at the time a 9 and 11-year-old. Are you kidding me? Really insane. And then they changed their name, and I lost track of them. They released 3 albums as Smush, and then I lost them. And then somebody, I don't know who it was, told or I rediscovered them as Chaos, and I'm like, oh my God, they're still doing it. A little bit more poppy, the new stuff. The old stuff was way more melancholy and just dramatic. But the new stuff still had that in it, and that song was a song that I discovered, and I was like, oh my God, it's such a good song. And I was just like, I'm going to use this song in the show somewhere, and then that just was a perfect spot. And then we had them score a few things, they did that Memories song in the flashback scene in Parasite, the Parasite episode. That was an original they did for that scene. And then now they're just hard at work on their next album, they're holed up in a studio in North New York, or I don't know, is that yeah,
they're in the Brooklyn area, I think.
But they're out in the sticks of New York, actually writing and recording in some, I guess, abandoned church or something. It's really interesting. But
their Instagram is fun to watch.
Very, very interesting, yeah. And Aussie's such an artist, it's like she'll text me lyrics, or text me just randomly just weird things you shouldn't use your phone for 3 days and just walk. And I'm like, just such an artist, it's really great. I love it. But I love their music so much. I'm I'm very anxious for their next album.
Well, you were nice enough to call in because we just had them on, and we talked to you for a tiny bit, and then you came on, called into the show because we're big fans of Rick and Morty. Yeah. And at one point, we told you we were on a red carpet for WWE. I think it was 2K16, the game they were releasing, and we found Seamus, who was a huge Rick and Morty fan, but a huge Mr. Poopy Butthole fan because he was wearing a shirt.
Yeah. I love him.
And I put you, I wrote to you, I'm like, you got to find a way to cross-promote that thing. Yeah. Is Seamus going to be in season 3?
I can't say anything. I want him to be. and we're still at a place where he can be. The casting process is it's not normal. It's like we're so flying by the seat of our pants with every aspect of production on the show that it's very hard to sort of like be premeditating and thinking like, okay, this person's going to play this part, because the way that we're going, that part might not exist in a week. Like literally, we're like just constantly rewriting and changing and tweaking and re-breaking, and so. And I've already had to deal with the repercussions of that, casting people that I'm excited about, and then only to call them and go, I'm so sorry, but like we recorded them and everything, and it's not even that they did bad. It's like they did fucking amazing, but it's like we rewrote the story at Animatic, and like we had to change everything and gut it, and the part that you played is cut, and blah, blah. I mean, it's already happened. So I don't want to do that to Seamus. He's the nicest dude ever,
and he'll bro kick you.
Yeah, he'll beat the shit out of me. No, you know what the best thing with Seamus? Like Seamus, actually, I've hung out with him a few times. I got to put him in VR at the HTC VIVE. If you haven't tried it,
we did. We were going to get to that next.
It's life changing. But I put him in that for the first time, and he was playing a game called Arizona Sunshine, which is an amazing game. I don't think it's officially out yet, but. I was so worried he was just gonna punch his arm through my window, just because he was just like the zombies were coming at him, and he's and I recorded it, and I remember tweeting it out and tagging him, and he's like, hey man, because I guess he goes, what the fuck, and he's like, oh man, can you just don't tag me in it, because like I got a lot of kid fans. I was like, oh I'm so sorry, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. I got such a potty mouth.
We'll get into virtual Rickality in just a second, but season 2 was very heavy with musical influence and telling more of the story, like we said, than dialogue could have. With Chaos, with Nine Inch Nails. Yep. Was that a David Bowie song that was during with the Nebulous Cloud?
I mean, very much inspired by, for sure. And a guy named Ryan Elder does all of the score, theme song for the show, and he's just insanely talented. So you give him a sort of area, you say like make it sound kind of like this, and he'll hit it out of the park every time.
Maybe Jerry gets into ska next year. Come up with something like with Real Big Fish.
Yeah, I mean, we had a whole musical episode we wanted to do this season, and it just got pushed. So many other ideas, and we have too many ideas. It's like it's focusing, like focus. But so far there hasn't been any real music heavy. But when we get into color, that's when we really start playing around with like music needle drops. Like, okay, what are we going to use here? What are we going to use there? And there's a few, but nothing like set in stone yet.
Well, everybody's happy to know that a season 3 is happening. There's no real set date as for the release.
Me too. Believe me.
I couldn't imagine how they wouldn't greenlight a season 3.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fun. Like, season 3 was sort of a foregone conclusion, and then I don't know. The network is amazing. I mean, like Lazo and Keith and Walter, everybody over there is just amazing. And honestly, like I've been through a lot of development, hamster wheels at a bunch of different networks, and the Adult Swim team is like it's a very one of a kind sort of. I think the only other place that might be like that is Netflix, where they're just like they trust the creative. They're like, just do your thing. And all the notes calls are Lazo, just small talk, because he's like, it's great. I don't have any notes, so we're just like BSing about stuff. It's amazing. I love that guy.
We're running out of time, so 3 quick things with you. 1, what can you tell us about season 3?
It's a little bit darker, but still hilarious. We're exploring like Beth. We're sort of opening up Beth a bit. I feel like that's an underserviced character, and we're trying to really like dimensionalize her a little bit more this season. Beyond that, yeah, there's not a ton, because it's like we really want to. It's a lot of cool stuff that we really want to keep people surprised when they're watching.
All right, number 2, if you ever have an episode where maybe Jerry's in the car or in the shower listening to hack radio DJs, we're available.
Okay, absolutely. All right.
And finally, the third thing is, before you go, and since I think we can consider you a little more of an acquaintance than I can call you almost a friend, if you will, we have your exclusive Funko Pop. Would you sign that for us?
Oh, fuck yeah, of course. I'd be happy to. Yeah.
Justin Roiland, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
We can't wait for season 3
Everyone
of Rick and Morty.
An HTC VIVE or an Oculus, whatever your preference is, but the VIVE has room scale and motion controllers out of the box. But please go buy it and support VR, please. Thank you.
That made me go buy it, because I like the VR stuff, but I got to play it.
If people knew the stuff that's being developed, that's just around the corner to release, it would be. I think they'd be. They're keeping a tight lid on a bunch of stuff that's being developed, but it's like It is insane. It is the future of video games.
It sold me. I was destroying stuff. I was trying to drink from the flask.
Oh yeah. Oh, you tried the.
I tried to drink from the. Yeah, we tried it yesterday.
Like, yeah.
Thank you so much, Justin. We
You're
appreciate your
welcome.
time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's Eric Nagel, Erik and Matt. We'll be right back.